During the landslide, my sister and I were both buried under the rubble. I was rescued, but my sister died in her best years. Since then, my sister has become the white moonlight for everyone. My mother blamed me for causing her to lose her favorite daughter. My brother asked why I wasn't the one who died. Lucas used a marriage in name only as a cage to trap me. He said, "Not being able to ask for anything is the greatest retribution in your life." I made atonement to them for 5 years until I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The day I was planning to die, a voice sounded in my mind. If I had known you were such a loser, it would be better to just die in the first place. 1. On my birthday, the gift given to me by fate was a cancer diagnosis certificate. In the office, while making a report, the doctor said, "First notify your family members to come over for hospitalization." Okay, I'll make a call. There were many names in the contact list, including friend, husband, brother, father. I crossed them one by one, and finally stopped at the word mother. After hesitating for a moment, I clicked the dial. During the long waiting time, I couldn't help but feel nervous and my hands were shaking. And there was always a beeping sound in my ears waiting to be connected. Just when I thought she wouldn't answer, the call finally came through, and a familiar voice came from the other end. "What's the matter?" "Mom." I couldn't help but choke when I opened my mouth. I was afraid that she would be annoyed, so I hurriedly controlled my emotions. "Are you free? I have something to ask you." "I don't have time. I have a meeting later." "If it's not urgent, I'll call you later." "I am sick." There was silence on the other end for a moment. "If you are sick, go to the hospital. What's the point of calling me?" I knew I shouldn't have expectations, but hearing her answer still stung my heart. What if it is a disease that cannot be cured? Go find a doctor. Her cold voice showed a trace of impatience. Doctors can't even treat the disease. What's the use of calling me? I'm busy, that's all. The call was suddenly hung up. The doctor knew from my expression that the result was not good. He comforted me and said, "It's okay. You can also go to the hospital by yourself first." I picked at the edge of the bag, tears falling down drop by drop, and stood up. "I'll go back and think about it. You are still young and your life is your own." He couldn't bear it and wanted to persuade me. I shook my head at him and smiled uglier than crying. "I'll go back and think about it. No one expected me to survive. I should have died in the accident 5 years ago. 2. After wandering outside for a long time, it was already late when I got home. The house was dark as expected. I didn't turn on the light, so I walked in the dark, relying on my sense of familiarity, but I kicked the shoes on the porch. When I turned on the flashlight, I saw they were a pair of high heels. I never wear high heels. As if to answer my guess, the lights suddenly turned on, and a voluptuous figure came down from ping-ping-ting-ting on the second floor, wearing a sexy red dress, big waves, and a hint of flush on her bright face. She held the cigarette between her fingers. When she saw me, she showed an interesting smile and threw the cigarette butt into the small fish tank on the table. "Good lady, why are you back so late today?" Nina came closer and I smelled the familiar fragrance of her shower gel, which is the one I use most in the bathroom. She brushed her charming curly hair and said like a hostess, "Lucas drank too much today and made a mess upstairs. Please clean it up." After she finished speaking, she was about to put on her shoes and leave, when she suddenly came closer and stared at my face for a few seconds, then stretched out her hand and said, "Hey, have you ever cried? Who was bullied by me?" I frowned and backed away, and Nina retracted her hand nonchalantly. "Let's go." The little goldfish swam anxiously back and forth in the turbid water. I changed the water for it and went upstairs. The door to the master bedroom was ajar, and the bed was messy. Lucas was on the phone with a bath towel around his waist. He glanced at me, said a few words to the other party, then hung up, turned to me and asked, "Where have you been?" There is surveillance at home. Although he rarely comes back, he knows what time I get home every day. I looked at the messy room, dug my nails into my palms and suppressed my anger. "You can play wherever you want, why do you bring people to my room?" Lucas raised the corner of his mouth as if to mock. "Your room? Does this apartment have your name on it?" I stood frozen at the door, and he took off his towel and changed clothes in front of me without caring. It wasn't until I was about to leave that I noticed my extremely ugly face. Lucas was stunned for a moment and frowned slightly. I made a mistake when I drank too much. I won't do it next time." As soon as he finished speaking, he realized that there was no need to explain to me. He turned cold, brushed my shoulder, and strode away. On the day Lucas and I received the certificate, he said in my ear, "You should also have a taste of what you don't want." After 4 years of marriage, he was enjoying life outside and had one lover after another. I used the name of Mrs. Lucas and treated him as a couple in name only. Countless people laughed at me behind my back, saying that I deserved to end up like this because I stole my sister's man. 3. I slept in the guest bedroom all night, and the next day I called the housekeeper to come and clean up. In the bathroom, all toiletries have been removed. Just when Lucas came back to get something, his car came from behind and crossed in front of me fiercely. I was so frightened that I almost fell down. The window was lowered and he said coldly, "Get in the car." After Lucas' mother became ill 2 years ago, he stopped allowing me to go to work. Since then, my daily life has been 2 o'clock in one line. Lucas didn't know why he was going crazy again. He was driving very fast on the road and was reminded of speeding several times. When we arrived at the door of the old house, he stopped the car and I pushed the door open, only to find it was still locked. Lucas, who had been looking bad all the way, suddenly said, "I didn't do it, I vomited." With a click, the lock opened. I got out of the car and as soon as the door closed, the vehicle disappeared. It was a sentence without beginning or end, but I understood it clearly. He explained to me that they didn't do it in the master bedroom last night because he had vomited, so they changed the bed. But is there a difference? I walked into the main house, and the pale-haired old woman in the wheelchair turned back and gave me a bright smile. "Lily, are you here?" What she called was her sister's name. Lucas' mother suffered from a brain disease and suffered sequelae after the craniotomy. She was confused and couldn't remember things or people. No matter how many times I taught her, she always recognized me as Lily, who often came to play at home when she was a child. And I'm Rita. In the past 2 years, I have become accustomed to being Lily in front of her because she loves Lily very much. I half knelt down beside her and rested my head on her lap. Lucas' mother gently touched my face, touching my tears. She was a little panicked. "What's wrong, baby?" I said. "I'm sick, I'm scared." "Are you not afraid? Auntie loves you. Lily, be good. Auntie loves you. I am not afraid of death. What I fear most is that the person who is suffering is alone and my brother, whom I hadn't seen for a long time." He was smoking a cigarette in front of the tomb. When he saw me appearing, a mocking expression appeared on his face. "How long has it been since you forgot that her death anniversary was?" I didn't explain, but flowers and various fruit snacks that my sister liked were placed in front of the grave. On the tombstone, her face is still bright. She will never grow old. Kowtow to her seriously. "Sister, I'm sorry I wasted the life you gave me 5 years ago. If I could go back in time, I hope you wouldn't save me." Tears flowed down my cheeks uncontrollably. I raised my hand to wipe them away, but they became more violent as I wiped them away. Gray stared at me with an annoyed look on his face. "What are you acting for? It's been so long and you're still crying like this. I don't know how guilty. You all don't want me to live, and you may be able to get your wish soon." He was stunned and subconsciously grabbed me. "What do you mean?" "Verbal meaning." I pulled away from his hand. Gray shouted from behind, "Don't try to attract other people's attention with these neurotic words. No one cares about your tricks long ago." I didn't look back or answer him. Mid-Autumn Festival is coming, and this day is also my mother's birthday. After my sister passed away, my mother never celebrated her birthday again. In the past, the 3 of us celebrated her birthdays together. But since then, such reunion days have always been without someone, which is very sad. It's not her birthday, but I prepare gifts every year. I hesitated in the car for a long time, and finally decided to go in and say happy birthday to her in person. This might be the last time I give her a birthday gift. When I opened the door to my house, I heard someone inside beating time and singing happy birthday. There were sumptuous dishes and a cake on the table in the dining room. My mother, Gray, and my cousin, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, all gathered at the table. 5. After singing birthday, my mother blew out the candles with a smile on her face at the urging of her cousin. I wanted to put the gift down quietly and leave, but my aunt at home saw me and shouted in surprise, "Rita is back!" For a moment, multiple eyes fell on me at the same time. Now that everyone is here, There is an extra set of dishes and chopsticks for me on the dining table, but after I sat down, the atmosphere became inexplicably colder. Gray never talks much, so his cousin was the one keeping the atmosphere lively at the table. He was talking and laughing with my mother, and the two of them were talking about interesting things about traveling together some time ago. I calculated the time in my mind, and it happened to be when my test results came out. There was a cut birthday cake in front of me, which was too greasy to be eaten. Until the meal was finished, I didn't even touch the cake in front of me. My cousin asked, "Sister, why don't you eat it? Is it not delicious?" I answered casually, "It's okay." When my cousin heard this, she looked a little disappointed. "Isn't it just not delicious?" My stomach aches and the pain spreads along the nerves. Now even if you give me a plate of dragon meat, I can't taste the aroma. Gray on the opposite side added leisurely, "Don't listen to her, she has no taste. Your cake-making skills are already better than 99% of the shops outside." My mother also echoed, "I think it's good too." It seemed that I was the only one who had no taste. I twitched my lips and said, "Yes, I have no taste." There was no need to stay any longer, so I made a random excuse to leave. My mother's teacup stopped at her mouth, put it back on the table, and said with a bit of displeasure, "You've just been back for a few minutes and you're leaving in a hurry? I do not feel well. What makes you uncomfortable in this home?" Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, my cousin quickly stepped forward to smooth things over. "Auntie, I actually have an appointment with a friend. I just asked Sister Rita to remember to take me for a ride when she was leaving." Everyone could see that this was just an excuse. My mother took a deep breath, looked away and continued drinking tea. "Okay, slow down on the road." In the end, I couldn't even say happy birthday and went outside to wait for my cousin. Gray then came out. He glanced at me up and down and flicked the cigarette ashes between his fingers. "I'm living a good life and I don't see how you are doing." This was in response to something I said to him over a week ago when we were in the cemetery. In his opinion, the fact that I was standing here properly at this time further proved that I was just talking nonsense that day. I turned a deaf ear and drove away after my cousin came over. Unexpectedly, an accident occurred not long after driving, and a speeding vehicle hit him. Amid my cousin's screams, I turned the steering wheel and tried my best to avoid it. The driver's car rolled over twice on the road and plunged into the green belt. I passed out briefly and was woken up by my cousin's cry. She was calling the emergency phone. I was so frightened that I couldn't speak clearly. I finally reported the location clearly. After she finished talking on the phone, I endured the pain and asked her to call my mother again. The call was quickly connected and she learned that we had been in a car accident. There was a hint of panic in her usually calm voice, and she hurried out while asking about the situation. The cousin cried and cried, We are fine. We are just scared." I could hear my mother heaving a sigh of relief. After she comforted her cousin, she changed the topic and suddenly started to scold me. "I've told you before that when driving, you must keep an eye on all directions and listen on all directions, and pay more attention to the road conditions. In the past, when you were learning to drive, you were reckless, but now you are not only harming yourself, but also hurting others." Every word pierced my chest like a knife. His eyes went dark, but the scolding in his ears did not stop. "Since you were a child, you have listened to my words several times. No matter what I do, she is never satisfied. In her eyes, it seems that I am born inferior to others. However, she is not a mother who only criticizes. She also has a tender, loving, and caring side to her children, but I don't get it. I never get it." Pain surged through his limbs and bones, and despair broke out along with unspeakable grievances and pain. I grabbed my cousin's cell phone and yelled at the person on the other end, "It's not my fault. It's not my fault. He hit me. It's not my fault." After shouting the last word, the phone fell from the palm of my hand. I closed my eyes and fell into darkness, my heart beating rapidly with stress, gray despair covering me, and the vague cries and shouts in my ears getting farther and farther away. At this moment, an idea came to my mind. Forget it. There is no need to struggle anymore. Rather than being tortured by the disease and dying like a human being, it is better to just walk away, which is also a kind of relief. As this thought appeared, my soul seemed to be separated from my body, floating in the air and looking at the chaotic scene. Just when my consciousness of survival was getting weaker and weaker, A familiar voice suddenly sounded in my mind. If I had known you were such a loser, I would have been better off dead from the beginning. Then an invisible hand pressed hard on the top of my head. 6. Unlike in the TV show, I woke up with no one around me. The electrocardiogram monitor showed my stable vital signs, and the medicine in the transparent infusion tube was being transported into the blood vessels little by little. I stared at the infusion set and subconsciously murmured, "Why am I not dead yet?" The next second, a familiar voice sounded angrily in my mind. "Why die? Are there any wimps like you?" I finally saved my life, but ended up working as a nanny and a doormat for 5 years. I was scolded and dizzy. I sat up but saw nothing. After searching for a long time, I finally determined that the voice came from my mind. I couldn't believe that after so many years I could still hear Lily's voice. "Sister, sister? Don't scream. I don't have an embarrassing sister like you. You are so cowardly that even if I die, I will get up and give you a slap in the face." The door of the ward opened with a click sound from outside to inside. Look at the person coming in. Seeing that I was awake, the visitor showed joy on his face. He turned around and said to the person behind him, "Great! Rita is awake." The person who came was my cousin's mother, my aunt whom I haven't seen for a long time. My mother came in behind her and looked at me. "You are really too nervous. The doctor said it was just a skin injury, nothing serious." My aunt scolded me. "It's just a skin injury. The car was hit like that. Normally I feel so bad when my child gets bruised and bruised. You, the mother, take it so seriously." My mother disagreed. "These two girls are different." As she spoke, my aunt sat down by the bed and touched my face with distress. "Don't listen to your mother, Rita. Are you scared?" My eyes were sore, and I opened my arms and threw myself into her arms. My mother wanted to say something else, but she was stunned when she saw this scene. When the car accident happened, I turned the steering wheel sharply to the right. As a result, I was slightly injured, but my cousin was unscathed. She didn't even need to be hospitalized. My aunt was very grateful and thanked and apologized to me. And in my mother's words, she just said lightly that these two girls are different. After my aunt left, my mother still stayed in the ward. She looked a little strange and casually tucked me in, and stood by the bed for a moment before she asked stiffly, "Does it hurt?" I was about to answer when my body was suddenly controlled by a strange force, and my mouth was no longer under my control. I answered the question incorrectly. I really envy my cousin for having a good mother. I also have a good aunt. I want to ask, why are she and I different? My sister is made of water, and I am made of ironclad meat? My mother pursed her lower lip and frowned slightly. That was a polite comment in front of your aunt. Belittle your own children to flatter others. Will this make you more face-saving? She was displeased. What is flattery? After all, you were driving the car. If your cousin had an accident in the car, we are also responsible. Mom, you know how to determine responsibility better than the traffic police. The atmosphere was completely frozen. I always obeyed in front of her, but this was probably the first time I had such an unforgiving attitude. I looked calm on the face, but my heart began to race with nervousness. I already had a premonition of what unpleasant things my mother would say. However, after a long period of silence, she said, "You have a good rest." The person walked out, and I looked at her back in disbelief. This was the first time that my mother didn't lecture me harshly. In her mind, Lily said, "Did you see that? You are weak when you should be strong, and you are a mess when you should be weak, so you are bullied in the nose and face again and again." Why didn't she answer the call? Because she knew in her heart who was arguing. Every time you suffer grievances, you are asking for it. If someone slaps you, you have to resist even if you can't beat them. But not only do you not resist, you bow your head and let the beatings and scoldings come to you. Her voice was fierce, but every word she spoke was filled with love and care. I wanted to cry again. "Sister, you have never been so fierce before." She paused. "You have never been so coward before. How did I become like this?" Before going to sleep, my memory jumped back to the time after the accident 5 years ago. At that time, I had just escaped from death. When I woke up, in addition to the news of Lily's death, I received overwhelming accusations and speculation. They said that I was greedy for life and was afraid of death. leaving Lily in a dangerous place and escaping on my own. As a result, the rescue was missed and Lily did not survive. I can't argue with anyone as to whether it was my fault or not. Lily was indeed dead. The person who treats me best and loves me the most in this world, because of me, his life is set in the best years. 7. The next day I learned from the police that the driver was drunk and was hanging by a thread in the ICU. It wasn't my fault, it wasn't my improper driving. Even the police praised me for my quick reaction and proper operation during this sudden accident, which prevented a fatal collision. Gray was in the ward, and after hearing this he twitched his lips. "You are very lucky." I can't tell if it's a mockery or if I really think so. But in her mind, she couldn't bear to hear such sinister words. Yang's tone. "Of course I'm lucky, otherwise I wouldn't have escaped death again and again. He always quarreled with me and always said, 'It shows that most of the people who are with you are unlucky.'" Lily sneered. "Yes, it will be your turn soon." Gray choked. "I was really full before I came to see you." He left not long after. Not only did he come today, he came to check in every day on the second and third days. I was hospitalized for 5 days. If it were in the past, I would definitely be overjoyed and would take the opportunity to make various requests to him to serve me. But since Lily left, our relationship has plummeted, and Gray only treats me with cynicism every time he sees me. He comes every day, but we have almost zero communication. Gray sits on the sofa, plays 2 games, and then leaves after patting his butt. When I was discharged from the hospital on the 5th day, Gray planned to send me home. I packed the last piece of clothing into my suitcase. "You don't need to send it to me, I can go back by myself." Gray dangled the car keys in his hand with an impatient expression. "Don't be pretentious here. Mom is on a business trip, so I came to take care of you to avoid being said that you don't have anyone at home." "I see." Gray took the bag from my hand and threw it into the trunk. He was silent all the way. When he was approaching the door of the house, Gray said casually, as if he just remembered something, "By the way, your attending doctor asked you to go back for a review in a week. What did he say?" "The blood level is a bit high, so remember to go there yourself." I nodded, opened the car door and was about to get out, when suddenly I heard him ask again, "Where's Lucas?" "I have no idea." He raised his eyebrows. "You stayed in hospital for so many days and didn't come back. He didn't even call you or show up. What are you planning on?" I should answer him. "To save worry." Gray sneered. "Yeah, you're asking for trouble." He and Lucas had always disliked each other and never met unless necessary. I didn't respond to him. In their eyes, it was me who pursued Lucas relentlessly. But they didn't know that Bai Yue Guang, who was hidden deep in his heart, was my biological sister. A game of truth or dare completely exposed Lucas' secret. Not long afterward, Lily and I were in danger at the same time. Gray once let me know during a quarrel that he thought I sacrificed my sister when I was in danger because of a man. This is what he hates most about me. I didn't come back for 5 days. I sent messages to say hello to Lucas' mother, but I didn't send a word to Lucas's mother. We were husband and wife in name only, not even friends. There was no need to tell him about my hospitalization. When I entered the house, the ashtray on the living room table was filled with cigarette butts. Under normal circumstances, Lucas only comes back a few times a month, and his house is cleaned by his aunt every day. There are so many cigarette butts. I glanced away and returned to my room to pack my luggage. Halfway through packing, I heard a knock on the door. Lucas stood by the door, his eyes falling on the open luggage on the ground. "Where have you been these past few days?" "Travel. Travel." He held a cigarette between his fingers and broke it in half with his thumb. He was obviously in a bad mood. "Can you tell the truth?" I stood up and said, "If you are so free, come and talk about the divorce. My lawyer should have informed you, right?" When he mentioned this, his expression changed. "What are you going to do about it?" "I don't want to waste time with you. It's better to happen by chance. I'll ask the lawyer to come over and draw up the documents." The cigarette in his hand was broken into pieces, and a cold light burst out from his eyes, and he asked me sarcastically, "What's the hurry? Have you found a new home?" "I haven't left home, so I just don't want to be with you." I twitched my lips and said, "Living under the same roof with you, I worry day and night whether heart disease will spread through the air. I'll call the lawyer, and he'll arrive in an hour at the earliest." It won't take up too much of your time." He suddenly threw the cigarette that was badly folded in his hand to the floor, stepped on it with his leather shoes, stared at me and laughed angrily. "You just want to leave like this? Why don't I do it as you wish? What do you want? Or what can you do?" He took another cigarette, bit it in his mouth and lowered his head. He burned, took a deep breath, walked up to me, and took advantage of his height to maximize the feeling of oppression. Lucas' hand holding the cigarette wanted to touch me, but stopped halfway. He glanced at my hand that was about to fall and smiled suddenly. "Hit me? Why not? You yourself nodded to marry me. It's not the first day I brought someone back to sleep with me. Have you said anything in all these years? Are you suddenly disgusted with me?" My hand fell down and was restrained by his wrist. Lucas gritted his teeth and said, "That's even better. Not only will I bring people back to sleep with me from now on, but I'll also do it right next to you." I couldn't bear it anymore, so I slapped him with my left hand when my right hand was grabbed. Lucas didn't expect to have this hand, so he was caught off guard and I slapped him so hard that his head tilted away. A distinct palm print quickly appeared on his. After I connected it, Lucas asked impatiently, "Don't you have something to say? What are you doing in the garage?" I drove out and looked at his car in front of me. "Just wait, I'll be here soon." I stepped on the accelerator and slammed into his car while the woman screamed. Under the huge thrust, the front of Lucas' car hit the wall. Countless dust fell and cracks appeared on the wall. What can I do? Just watch and see what I can do. I reversed the car, stepped on the accelerator again and hit it. The front and rear of Lucas' car were in pieces, the bumper fell off, the engine was cocked, and the rear of the car was heavily dented. I let go of the accelerator and stared at the car in front of me. My eyesight went black. My heartbeat was so fast that it was about to burst out of my throat. In a short period of time, countless sweat broke out on my back. Someone was banging on my window violently outside the car. I turned around and saw Gray, who should have left here. His face was distorted. "Are you crazy?" Thrilling emotions surged through my blood, and I felt unprecedentedly happy at this moment. If someone has to die, why does it have to be me? 8. When I was a kid, I liked Lucas. Among my playmates, I loved running around behind him. At that time, adults all joked that I would marry Lucas as my wife when I grow up. But Lucas didn't like such jokes. Every time he heard it, he would blush and argue, "I am a sister, not a wife." After realizing that my motives were impure, he began to distance himself from me quietly. At that time, I was too slow to realize that he was avoiding me. It wasn't until he got a girlfriend and introduced her to everyone that I suddenly understood why he suddenly became cold towards me, and that little budding idea was extinguished. We were supposed to develop like this without any interaction, until later a stack of love letters in my room was dug out. Gray picked up the photos among them, and I hugged the boy whose face he couldn't see in an intimate hug. The secret love was suddenly exposed to everyone's eyes. Gray held the photo and yelled, asking me when I secretly had a boyfriend. One word, everyone came to watch, and I was so anxious that I jumped up and down and couldn't get the photo back. The boy in the photo is about the same height as Lucas, and even the clothes he wears are similar to the style Lucas wore that day. Everyone thought the person in the photo was Lucas, but just when I was about to explain, Lucas took the initiative to take the blame. He later explained to me that he stood up because he didn't want to see me embarrassed on that occasion, and he didn't mean anything beyond friendship to me. He didn't explain, and I didn't think much about it. After all, the person in the photo was not him at all, and I like someone else. It's just that my mother is not satisfied with that person, extremely dissatisfied. So after the photo incident, she and the E family tried every means to bring Lucas and me together. I told Lucas frankly that I had someone I liked. If he was willing, we could pretend to be in contact for a while, and then find an excuse to say it wasn't suitable. He agreed without being too curious about the person I said he liked. Later they played Truth or Dare, and Lucas was asked if he was chasing me. After asking several questions in a row, everyone guessed that the real person in his heart was Lily. This time Lucas did not deny it, so it became an alliance of friendship between him and me. We wanted to get close to the water first. I don't know why, but in the end it turned out that Lucas likes Lily, but I like Lucas and I can't ask for it. On the day of the crisis, everyone went out to play together. I stayed in the B&B to rest because I had a fever. Lily was worried, so she came back to see me halfway. She took my temperature and told me to go next door to boil some hot water for me to get up and drink. I was lying on the bed, dizzy from the fever, and nodded instinctively. Not long after I fell asleep, the house suddenly collapsed. When I was rescued, I was nearly comatose and delirious. Someone in my ear asked if anyone else was with me, but I only remembered that everyone went out together in the afternoon, preparing to go camping in the mountains, so I shook my head in denial. People on the mountain thought she hadn't come back, but I thought she was still on the mountain. 9. Lucas was taken to the hospital with a broken arm and 2 broken ribs. Before passing out, remember to emphasize to those around you that you don't need to call the police. Nina's condition was better than him. At least she was not in a coma. For the first time, she looked at me with fear in her eyes. My mother got the news and rushed back in the middle of a business trip. With Gray as the person involved, she knew the whole story without asking me. After watching Lucas, she called me into the room, closed the door and turned around. Snapped. A loud slap came over hard. Gray trembled in shock and subconsciously stepped forward to stop him. My mother waved his hand away, pointed at me and cursed angrily. "Are you crazy? Do you know what you are doing? Are you tired of living and want to take a shot?" She raised her hand to hit again, but I subconsciously wanted to hide. It felt like someone was supporting me on my back, and Lily's voice sounded, "Don't hide." My right hand became conscious of its own, and I quickly grabbed my mother's hand that almost fell down. "Why did you hit me?" "Why should I hit you?" "Because I'm your mother. If I had known you would look like this, I shouldn't have taken you back from your father's house. If Lucas does anything today, he will send you to jail, and I won't be able to protect you. When will you let me have some peace of mind? Do you have to force me to save my life?" I let go and smiled. "I hit him. Why did it cost you your life? Whether it's jail time or a life worth a life, I will bear the consequences of my actions myself, so you don't have to worry about it." While Gray was comforting his mother, he scolded me. "Can you please stop talking?" "No. When my cousin and I had a car accident, you blamed me for driving erratically. I hit Lucas and you said I was crazy. I am not a prisoner in a death row prison. I have many charges and all my crimes are evil." My mother's face turned red with anger. "Why do you think I'm not worthy of being your mother now?" I nodded. "I have been looking up to you. You always say it was me who did it. Not good enough. In order to become a qualified daughter in your mind, I have been working hard in the direction you asked for. But I took the wrong path from the beginning. I shouldn't have to lower myself to please anyone. I will handle Lucas's affairs by myself, and I don't need you to intervene. I am really disappointed in me. Then you can stop recognizing my daughter in the future. This way you can live a few more years." She was so angry that she looked at me and nodded repeatedly, pushing Gray away. Okay. Did you see that your sister is very stubborn? Let her handle this matter by herself. If you feel like you're being humbled by me, fine. I'd like to see how you hold yourself up in front of others." My mother turned away. Gray didn't leave. He looked at me with a complicated expression. Only then did he remember to ask, "What happened after you went up? Why were you so impulsive?" Lily handed her body back to me and encouraged, "Say, a long mouth is for talking, not for suffering." I asked him back, "Do you think I really want him to die?" He didn't answer, but I saw the answer in his expression. If I really wanted him to die, I would have let him get out of the car and hit him directly and send him to the cremator instead of giving them a chance to go to the hospital for treatment. Gray pursed his lower lip before reacting and frowned slightly. "So what happened between you and him?" "He said he plans to bring his lover home next time and have sex in front of me." Gray's face darkened instantly. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. "He dares." 10. When Lucas woke up, I immediately delivered the divorce papers. He was lying on the bed, looking at the document that was handed to him. He raised his eyelids and looked at me feebly. "This is already the case. You still want to make me angry? Are you angry? There's no need. Please read the content first and then we'll talk." Lucas took it with his left hand, but showed no intention of opening it. He changed his hand and put it on the bedside. "There's nothing to talk about. I won't leave." "Okay." I stepped forward to get the documents, I'll see you in court then. I turned around to leave, but Lucas, as if he didn't expect things to turn out this way, quickly raised his voice and shouted to me, "Come back." He looked suffocated, but he could only endure it and not have an attack. His hand that had just been operated on was still reminding him of what had happened. I looked at him calmly. "What else do you want to say?" Lucas looked straight over and asked straight to the point. "Why do you suddenly want a divorce? Didn't I answer you earlier? I can't bear it anymore, not even for one more day." He clenched his teeth and twitched his cheek muscles. "Sometimes I really doubt whether you have ever liked me." I was stunned, and for a moment I suspected that I was hearing hallucinations. "When did I have the illusion that I liked you?" He blurted out. "That photo. That photo." I couldn't help but laugh. "Isn't it? I've already explained it, but you still think the person in the photo is you. You have a bad memory, so you won't lose your memory, right? When have we ever taken such intimate photos?" He froze. "Or do you think I have a crush on you and posted a photo together? The person there is not you at all. Didn't I explain it before? You should make up something decent." I sneered at him. "What do you mean by decent?" "Like you. He is better looking than you, has a better personality than you, not to mention his studies, and the honors and bonuses he has received since childhood are longer than your life." Lucas turned blue with anger and sneered. "So what? Does your mother like his family?" After saying this, he suddenly became stunned. I twitched my lips and said, "Yes, my mother was the first to find out. She didn't like it, so we have been dating for so long and have been secretly in love." Anthony comes from a bad background, with an alcoholic and domestically violent father, and his mother is a traditional housewife with average family conditions. Even if he has top grades, a noble character, and is excellent in everything, he still can't impress my mother. When she learned that I had such a boyfriend, my mother didn't even want to see him. She objected with one sentence. "No, I will choose a better one for you." So after the photo incident, even though she knew it was not Lucas, she still pushed for our development. I was unwilling to confront her, which made her even more disgusted with me and Anthony. I wanted to take a curved route to save the country, but I didn't expect the collapse to happen unexpectedly. During the time when I was hospitalized after being rescued, Anthony accidentally killed his father in order to protect his mother who was being abused. I begged my mom to help find him a good lawyer. Over the years, he had worked hard, hoping that one day he could escape his alcoholic and violent father and take his mother away from the muddy family. However, he did not expect that when he was only one step away from the light, he would be completely swallowed up. My mother said, "Okay, but you have to obey." So I married Lucas obediently and lived the life she arranged honestly. Lucas could connect all these causes and consequences at a glance. He thought that I had always had a crush on him, that the photo was proof that I went on a date with him, and that the person I said I liked who never appeared was just made up. His mother has been hurt by scheming women and has had a difficult life. He hates women who are scheming and full of tricks. I had a crush on him at first, but he noticed it and didn't want to turn our relationship into a relationship between a man and a woman. Male and female friends will get separated, but pure friends are more stable than sexual relationships. So he avoided my favor and chose to find someone else to draw a clear line. I understand him, but those little subtle budding feelings died completely when I couldn't tell whether it was a real heartbeat or just a good impression. He wanted to laugh, but his face was as stiff as a puppet and he stared at me. "You yourself nodded to marry me. If there is no wedding, you won't make trouble. If I bully you, you won't make trouble. Bring a woman to you and you will never get angry with me. I just thought about how generous you can be. As time goes by, I understand you less and less." Lawsuit. Lucas twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "He broke up with me. He is in prison and has just come out. What can he give you? Will he die with you? I saw your cancer report." The door behind him was pushed open with a bang, and Grace stood at the door. "Whose cancer report?" 11. I went through the hospitalization procedures again. Lily kept thinking in my mind, cancer can be cured, but death is not inevitable. Throw all those stupid novels and TV series you read into the trash can. When you are sick, you should actively treat it. Don't give up and wait for death, hoping to use death to punish those who hurt you. How did your mother react when you crashed the car? What were Gray's and Lucas' reactions? I didn't treat you well when you were alive. When you die, people will probably just clap and applaud. Every fish you raise has to be braised. Her voice suddenly softened. Rita, when others hurt you every time you lower yourself, you are relaxing others' ability to bully you. The more you know how to cherish, the more afraid you will lose. Those who don't even have the most basic respect for you, there will never be awakening and belated love in them. Don't expect the violent people to reflect on themselves. The only time they will repent is its death that's imminent. If you never resist, you will always be at the bottom. When you feel that you are full of shortcomings, you might as well use a magnifying glass to look at others. There is no perfect person in this world. After being readmitted to the hospital, all examinations were repeated from scratch. When death comes suddenly, the desire to survive and fear coexist. I have stomach cancer. When the first diagnosis result came out, it was like the flag of death falling from the sky and inserted into the Tianling cap. At that moment, there was only one thought in my mind: how could it be this disease? I'm still so young. I instinctively asked for help, choosing the people I most wanted to rely on. The guilt of carrying the shackles and 5 years of self-imprisonment tortured me into an extremely timid person. The windows are open every day, but the sun never shines in. I lacked forgiveness, love, and support. When faced with such a big blow, I didn't dare to move forward and could only retreat. But when Lily reappeared, everything became different. She said, "Don't be afraid, the best thing is to come and reunite with your sister." While I was hospitalized for treatment, I simultaneously put the divorce on the agenda. These are the steps taught by Lily. Apart from my mother, I listen to her the most. Whatever my sister says is right. She knew that I had someone I liked and had vaccinated me in advance, saying that my mother might object, so I carefully concealed the relationship, but it was eventually exposed. When they all said that Lucas liked Lily, she told me in a certain tone, "That boy likes you." Every time you are on the same occasion, his eyes will look to you first when he talks. When he encounters something fun and funny, his first reaction will be to look for you first. But that guy is very cowardly and stupid. He probably doesn't realize this, or he won't admit it if he does. So before you pretend to date him, you must speak clearly. I said it, but he mistakenly thought that the person I said I liked was him. As the party at fault for the cheating in my marriage, Lily helped me ask for a large sum of property compensation without hesitation. She was very agitated. "What do you want if you don't want money? Want his cheap guilt and dirty body? Scumbags should be physically castrated and impoverished for the rest of their lives." The lawyer redrafted the document and showed it to me. After confirming it again, it was sent to Lucas. Lily also said, "If he doesn't want to accept it, it doesn't matter. Chemotherapy." The relative who signed for the surgery was Gray, who was more unable to accept the reality of my illness than I was. He looked at the diagnosis report for a long time, so long that I thought he was suddenly illiterate. When the piece of paper was pressed under his palm, I saw that Gray's fingers were trembling slightly. His eyes dropped to the floor. He didn't know what he was thinking. After a long while, he asked in a low voice, "Check it so early. It's out, why didn't you say anything?" "Tell me," Mom said, "it's useless to go to her for a disease that the hospital can't cure, and it's not exactly what you want." The report paper was wrinkled by him, and Gray raised his eyes and looked over. "What was your original plan? What can we plan?" I smiled. "The cemetery has been purchased. When I leave, you will be the only one left." I paused. "Don't worry," comfortable as I imagined. The day before the surgery, I chatted with the nurse. She said that I have a good brother. Gray comes to check on me every night after I fall asleep. He also communicates with the doctor every day. He asks the chef to prepare the meals and then delivers each meal. Gray has never mentioned these things in front of me. I don't know if it's because the nurse himself observed carefully, or because Gray himself felt awkward and couldn't say it to me, so he chose to let the nurse relay it. Strangely, overnight Gray suddenly understood how to be a brother. He and I are only 2 years apart. When we were young, we liked to fight over things, and when we grew up, we liked to argue. In the relationship between brother and sister, we have the same consensus. He does not need to be humble to me, and I do not regard him as my brother. If these things had happened when I was first diagnosed with the disease, I would have been moved to tears. Those things that I couldn't ask for appeared at the wrong moment, and I no longer need them. 12. After the surgery, I received my first course of chemotherapy. In addition to the gastrointestinal condition and weight loss, there are no other side effects so far. During his hospitalization, Lucas never came to the ward. Maybe Gray didn't let him come, or maybe Lucas didn't want to come. I kept waiting for the news that he would agree to the divorce. After I was discharged from the hospital, I didn't go back to the E family, and I didn't listen to Gray's advice and move back home. After my parents divorced, of the 3 children, I was the only one whose custody rights were given to my father. The only thing my father left for me was a house. The location was not very good, so I haven't lived there in these years, but here I am. Time has become an excellent safe haven. Before I was discharged from the hospital, I fired the caregiver Gray hired and declined his suggestion to find someone to take care of me. After being rejected one after another by me, his temper that he had endured for a long time came back. He frowned and tapped his fingers rhythmically on the table. His demeanor revealed his annoyance. I don't want this or that. With your current physical condition, can you not do it? It doesn't matter whether you do it or not. Thank you for this time. I can just do it myself in the future. His chest heaved deeply and he asked patiently, how do you plan to do it by yourself? You are a patient now, and the best plan is to follow my arrangements reasonably. So familiar words. I said, you look just like Mom. Gray froze and his strong aura collapsed, revealing a bit of uncomfortable and rare embarrassment. I just want to help take care of you. I shook my head. The best help is to respect my opinion. When I had the idea of death, I gave up not only my life but also these people. Apparently, the harmonious atmosphere during the hospitalization made Gray feel that the things I had done before were just venting and tormenting because of my illness. What makes people feel most guilty is that they cannot get through the hurdle in their own hearts. I'm not a child anymore. I can't just slap you in the face and eat a candy and pretend that all the unpleasantness never happened. What I said to my mother is serious, and what I'm saying to you now is the same. Thank you for this time. Just stay well in the future. There is no need for extra. I can take care of myself. It was the first time that I stood up and spoke in front of him. I am also very painful about Lily's death. I have never had the idea of killing my sister. It was my suggestion to go camping, and I also chose the location of the B&B. It was originally a happy gathering among friends. Lily originally didn't want to come, but I pestered her to go with her. She was in a bad mood at that time, and I wanted to take her to relax. On the day I arrived at the resort, I suffered from vomiting and diarrhea due to a bad stomach and heat stroke. According to the itinerary for the next day, I was to go camping in the mountains for one night to watch the sunrise. They set off on time, and I stayed in the B&B to rest by myself, feeling faint from the fever. I received a call from Lily when I was in a daze. She heard something was wrong in my voice and rushed back halfway, but I thought her coming back was my dream. Lily reacted. Fudi said to me, "You have never been a sinner, and you do not need to ask anyone for forgiveness. Rita, it was an accident, not your fault," she said. After the collapse, what I thought was that if I stood outside the ruins, I would only collapse further. I left my sick sister here alone and let her be buried by the collapsed house. My despair would not be greater than one less point under the ruins, checking in regularly. I now live in a southern city close to the sea, where I can see beautiful sunsets every day. It's almost summer now, and the types of fruits sold on the streets are becoming more and more abundant, and everything is sweet to my heart. I like it here very much, and I bought a house here. There was a kitten inside and a person who I fell in love with. Now I feel very happy every day. Except that Gray always contacts me from time to time and sends me things, even if I deliberately distance myself from him. Even though I rarely respond to him in the past, he would have jumped up and scolded me for being ignorant, but now his temper has become very good, and he even sends me red envelopes during the Chinese New Year and birthdays, and wishes me well every year. Good health and long life. Last year my mother was ill. Gray called me several times and told me that she had a heart problem and was not in good condition. He hoped that I could go back and see her. I didn't go back, nor did I take the initiative to ask about her situation. Gray said that during the time when I was fighting cancer, She didn't ignore me. She also visited me in the hospital and asked many doctors, but she just didn't know how to face me. Gray also said that she has reflected on herself a lot over the years and regretted that she had treated me badly and really wanted me to go back and be with her. I thought that when I got over the disease and left them, I would be able to let go of the unfairness and partiality and let go of the criticism and prejudice she gave me. But to this day, I still wake up crying in the middle of the night, dreaming that I am quarreling with her, that I am worthless and unworthy of love. When I woke up, the kitten was licking my tears, and I became a mother, the mother of a cat. When I dealt with it, I realized that love can have no strings attached, as long as it's good. I went back once. Lucas's mother was hospitalized for a period of time due to minor physical problems. I went to visit her and stayed with her for 3 days. My mother's ward was in the department upstairs, and I never went there. Gray said she was sad to find out. In fact, when I was in the hospital, I really hoped that she would take care of me and see me, but never. If my cousin was hospitalized, my mother might help take care of her. She finally experienced such sadness and sadness. I'm so mean. When I heard Gray say that she expected me to see her in the ward every day, I actually felt a sense of revenge. In fact, she also called me, but I didn't answer the first 2 or 3 calls. When I picked it up later, I found that I really had nothing to say. She apologized to me for what she told me at that time, saying that even the hospital couldn't cure her and it was useless to go to her. She said that it was not until she became ill that she realized how painful and uncomfortable it was to be a patient, both physically and mentally. I felt nothing listening to her words, and I didn't even know what to say in response. This year her health has gotten worse. Gray called me last week after he was drunk. He was crying and said that if his mother left, he would only have me as a relative in the world. He said that now he often feels suffocated when he is alone at home and always returns to the past in his dreams. The whole family is there, noisy and very warm. Much better than me. I used toy was suffocating, but I had nothing. I comforted him, it doesn't matter, at least you still have money. And Lucas, he's like a crazy boar. Now I can't figure out why I promised my mother to marry him as a deal. I still remember that during the period after the operation, he kept delaying the divorce. He would rather spend time with me than divorce. I don't know what he wanted. Maybe he couldn't face the failure of his charm. Maybe that car crash damaged his brain. After 5 years of marriage and being surrounded by thousands of flowers, he slowly discovered that I was his true love. I blocked him because I was afraid that I would laugh too loudly and be heard by him along the network cable. The tug-of-war with Lucas went on for a long time. He initially didn't want to believe that I loved someone else. Later, he thought that since he and I were still married, he could at least have a chance to redeem and make amends. I just feel disgusted that I can't look down on him. He really gave up at the end of last year and found a new girlfriend who looked a lot like me and couldn't even eat my food. In essence, he only loves himself the most, and tries to please himself in every way. Probably because he was so happy collecting stamps, Lucas was diagnosed with a bad disease some time ago. To this day, I feel that my life has suddenly become brighter, and I truly have the feeling of starting a new life. Sister, I miss you so much. Sometimes I feel like the time you appeared in my mind was a dream. I am writing you this letter to tell you that I have done what you asked of me. Live a good life. If the environment is not good, change the environment. If the people around you are not good, change the people around you. The evaluation of others is not the standard of one's own survival. In an intimate relationship, never put yourself below others. Reject all violence and bondage in the name of love. Never give up on yourself because of others and regard death as revenge against others. You and I are the best and deserve every beautiful tomorrow. Sister, if you think I'm doing a good job, give me a hug in your dream tonight. Extra. I am Lily by Yue Guang, who died young in a dead human literature. And my unlucky sister is the heroine in this book. She has been unloved by her father and mother since she was born. My mother hated her scumbag ex-husband because of her failed marriage. When we divorced, my scumbag dad originally didn't want custody of any of our children. In order to disgust him, my mother forced her youngest daughter into him. The scumbag is busy starting a new life. How can he have time to take care of his children? For a while, after he got a new girlfriend, he often took Rita to show some family portrait scenes to stimulate my mother. Later, Rita was completely left to the care of her grandparents. When I went to see her, she cried miserably every time we parted, and asked me aggrievedly on the phone when she could go home. I feel very sorry for my sister. No one cares for her and no one loves her. If I could be a few years older than her, I could raise her by myself. Rita didn't return home until she was 8 years old because she had to go to elementary school. The longer she grows, the more she looks like my dad. I can tell that my mother doesn't like her face very much, and Rita also notices it, so she will deliberately do all kinds of things to please her mother. There is also a little bully Gray in the family. Before Rita came back, he was the only one in the family. After Rita came back, there were often disputes between people of similar age. Sometimes we would report the troubles to my mother, but my mother favored Gray, and I felt sorry for my sister. Rita isho please. When others treat her a little better, she wants to repay them 100 times 1,000 times. If something goes wrong, her first reaction is to blame herself. I have been working hard to help my sister build confidence and security, but all of my efforts came to nothing after my irrationality. The mother who has not liked her daughter since she was a child will selectively ignore her grievances and guide her to please herself. She has long chosen to sit in a superior position in the mother-daughter relationship, enjoying her efforts and ignoring her pain. Lucas has an awkward personality. He likes Rita, but he doesn't know it. At first, he was afraid that the relationship between the two would deteriorate, so he found a girlfriend and tried to return the relationship to the most stable state of friends. Stability means that he will not lose anything. After discovering the photo, he realized that Rita might still like him, but she didn't dare to say it clearly, so she had to use various reasons to ignore him. Once a man becomes narcissistic, his self-confidence is at its peak in the world. But love can be seen, and no matter how blind Lucas is, he will still find problems. No matter how much he stimulates Rita, Rita won't react much. Whether it was just a show or a real debauchery, Rita never had the inclination to explore. If you truly love someone, you will worry about gains and losses. You will not get the happiness you want by repeatedly stimulating her. Gray is the one who is most like his mother among the three of us. Whether it is material or love, he gets far more than Rita, so even though he grew up in the same family, he cannot empathize with Rita. Among the three, she is the most clumsy. She challenges herself, is always scolded by her mother, and loves to hide in Lily's arms and cry. This sensitive and playful little sister is like a child who never grows up. Gray has the best resources in the same environment, but he treats Rita with the same arrogant attitude as his mother, looking down on her from above. These people formed the center of Rita's world, setting up a bullying environment and mental pie that she could not resist, forcing her to abandon her armor, step by step towards despair, and finally die. If you live like this, you might as well die. You were tortured so badly that you might as well just die. After she died, these people suddenly woke up and paid homage to her with belated affection. Rita's punishment is a cold grave, and their punishment is that in this life, when they are sitting on wealth, enjoying happiness, embracing beauties, and immersed in the land of dreams, they think of her who is already holding ashes, and the pain and guilt make them burst into tears late at night. After watching the entire plot, I was on fire from the inside out. Crazy thoughts were screaming in my mind. This is my baby sister, and her birth was only to facilitate a miserable death. If it were me, die to me all. I watched her pitifully getting angry everywhere, jumping up and down in anger and yelling. If I had known you were such a coward, you might as well have died in the first place. At least I don't have to be trapped by the character, tortured and wronged in this kind of plot specially written to torture women. My angry roar took on substance after the sudden car accident. I heard Rita ask cautiously, "Sister." At this moment, I seized the opportunity to change her fate.